Make sure it's in gallery view. All right, perfect. So that's recording. All right, I'll do a little intro for the YouTube video and then we'll get into everything with you. So let's see. Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning into this conversation. My name is Maha Sanad. I'm the social media editor for the Pioneer newspaper. And with me today is Reggie D. White. He's an esteemed theater actor and a Cal State East Bay alumnus. So hi, Reggie. How are you doing today?
Hi, it's so good to meet you.
Yeah, of course. And same to you. And I'm excited to be here speaking with you. I feel like Cal State East Bay students will gain a lot from hearing about someone that used to be in their shoes, kind of. So yeah, thank you again for sitting down with me.
Of course.
And Reggie is currently playing the lead role as the baker in the beloved musical Into the Woods, I Love Into the Woods, at Berkeley Playhouse. So how would you say that's going for you so far?
So far so great. It started a little rocky. So I actually was not originally cast in this production. I was in New York minding my own business, doing something. I was about to leave to Boston for another project, and I got an email from the artistic director saying that an actor had dropped out of the production because he got another offer, and that sort of happens, all the time. And they asked me, would I step in and take over the role? And I was like, oh, I would love to, but I don't think that that's really possible because I'm doing another show in Boston and it closes like 3 days before you open. So that's insane. Like a traditional rehearsal process is like 3.5 or 4 weeks. And they were like, actually, maybe if you want to, you can still do it. And I foolishly was like, yeah, that's fine. I'll do it. And then as soon as I thought about it, I was like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? But I got here like, 3 days before the show opened. Now it's been 3 weeks or so already since. And I was really, really nervous for like a day. But it all came together. I basically had to learn an entire role in like 3 days. But I did it. And nobody booed or asked for their money back. So, phew, it's going okay now.
No, that's amazing. I've never heard of that. But did you say that happens often where they'll be like, oh, can you fill in, please?
It happens often. It happens not so irregularly that like an actor gets another project and has to leave a project. Mm-hmm. What is irregular is that someone comes in at, the 11.5 hour. Like ideally I would have been there because they knew in enough time that an actor could have been there for the first day of rehearsal. So that happens not super infrequently. But having someone come in at the last minute is like very, very rare. Big warning sign, do not try this at home. It was crazy, but I survived.
Yeah, that's definitely insane, but I'm sure you're doing amazing and I hope to go see it sometime soon. Yeah. And I'll shout that out at the end for everyone to go get their tickets. But so I'm assuming your kind of day-to-day life schedule has changed since you're in a running production at the moment. How would you say, like in general, or even for this production specifically, how does your day-to-day life have to change?
Well, most professional productions rehearse 6 to 8 hours in the daytime. So it goes from like basically having your nights free when you're in rehearsal to no free time when you're in tech and that sort of tech process, to having like exclusively your days free. And also, pre-pandemic, and some theaters are still doing this now as we sort of reopen in the midst of the pandemic. Would traditionally do 8 performances a week on 6 days. So it's like 6 days a week you have, or 4 days a week you have one show, 2 of those days you have 2 shows, and then you have 1 day off. This theater smartly and prudently was like, well, it's still, the beginning of our return to theater. We're not so sure that audiences are going to be ready and comfortable and safe or whatever. So we won't do 8 performances. We'll only do 3 performances a week. So for me, it feels like a vacation. So I'm like, oh, great. I only have to go to work 3 days a week. And,
Right.
now I only have to do the show 3 times. So I can just like sit around and read and go for
Yeah.
walks and go to the gym and maybe make a meal for myself, because also, I mean, like for me, I'm a bit of a workaholic.
Mhm.
And my like self-care in terms of like making meals for myself and doing my laundry and putting it up in the same day.
Mhm.
Those things are not so great traditionally. So like now I can like set aside 2 hours to like wash, fold, and put away my laundry like all in one sitting. I'd never get to do that.
Wow.
So it's great now.
Yeah. Well, good for you. I'm happy about that then. A little self-care, like laundry.
Just
That's
a little
definitely
bit.
something. But yeah, and I also read on your website that you're not only into acting, but stuff like creating music, writing, directing, and producing as well. So what would you say inspired you to kind of dip your toes into all like so many aspects of theater art?
Well, I mean, I hate for this to sound like a shameless plug for Cal State East Bay, but it really was. Like, I think it was impressed upon all of us at the very beginning of my training there. And oh my God, my freshman year was 15 years ago. Okay, I
Wow.
feel old. Uh, oh my God. Yikes.
No.
Uh, um, but like it was very, very important for us to not just be actors, but to work on, the lighting crews. And, for
Mhm.
the students who are theater arts majors, you have to take a bunch of design components and you have to
Mhm.
learn dramaturgy and you're asked to direct and be involved in all these things, because a life in the theater, there's so many, or I mean, not even in the theater, but as a storyteller, because even if you think about film and television and music, it's all storytelling. There's lots of different ways to be involved in that storytelling. And I really appreciate the like solid foundation that I got at Cal State East Bay. And also like, the thing, so I also teach now too at NYU. And the thing I tell my students all the time is like, school is the best place to fail, because it's
Mhm.
like, how do you know what you're capable of if you don't make a big swing and miss sometimes? And like, I missed a couple of times at Cal State East Bay. I missed sometimes in the real world too.
Right. We
But
all
but
do. We all do.
we all do. Exactly. You learn from those misses. You're like, oh, maybe I should not swing that direction. The ball is over there. Don't swing over
Right.
there.
Mhm.
So the all the faculty, all the professors, Anne and Rhoda and Daryl and Mark and Richard, gave me the safest base to believe that I could certainly try everything. I
Mhm.
might not have been good at everything, but I tried a whole bunch of stuff,
Yeah.
which gave me a lot of confidence to go out and do those things in my professional life.
Yeah, for sure. And when you said shameless plug, and I promise I didn't even do this on purpose, but
Yeah.
I picked a random mug out this morning, I promise, but it just reminded me. So we love Cal State Bay. What
We
can we
love
say?
it.
So
We love it. We love it.
yeah.
I mean, like when I came to Cal State East Bay, I was fully not a theater major. I was not
Oh,
interested in
really?
pursuing a career at in the theater at all. I didn't think it was a realistic possibility for me.
Hmm.
I was a sociology
Oh,
major. I was pre-law. I was gonna go,
wow.
from Cal State East Bay to law school. I was gonna go to Hastings. I had my whole like life planned out. And then I
Wow.
took a musical theater class just to like get it out of the way, because I knew I could sing and act, but I just didn't think it was like, a real career for me.
Hmm.
Um, and then I got cast in The Wiz.
Oh, nice.
I'm embarrassed to say that I think that there are still pictures of that up, and I, was very, very thin. That suit is like, I'm swimming in this green suit. And my parents and grandparents, when they sat in the front row, I think they saw my law dreams vanish in front of their eyes.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Cal State East Bay was the first place that I believed that I could be an artist. And so I will plug until all the plugs are plugged, about
Exactly.
how much I'm grateful to East Bay for giving me those dreams.
Yeah. And I think I saw, correct me if I'm wrong, but a Pioneer article written by you, and it said you were the sports editor for a little while. Is that true?
God, yes.
Yeah, I did my research.
Yeah, I was a journalism minor. I was a sociology
Oh,
major,
nice.
journalism minor for about 2 years, and then I like slowly changed my major to theater, and then I dropped sociology. I was like,
Right.
I remember my sophomore year. I basically lived in the theater building at that time, but I was still like, I wasn't changing my major. I was like, no, I'm still going to be a lawyer. I'm still holding on, and it was a constitutional law class, and it was the hardest B- I've ever earned in my entire life. Like I was like, I'm going to fail this class because I don't have the time to study because I'm in rehearsal for Urinetown or in rehearsal for Cloud Nine, or, all these these amazing plays that we were doing. And then I got that B- and I was like, I'm so happy I did not fail this class. I don't think I could do this anymore. I have to change my major. I can't. I'm sorry. I'm not going to be a lawyer anymore. I'm sorry.
Your breaking point.
Exactly.
And also, correct me if I'm wrong, but do you currently live / mostly work in New York?
Yeah. So
Okay.
I moved to New York in 2014, and I was really scared. It's like, it's kind of scary to live in a city without family. I grew up sort of bouncing around between Southern California and New Orleans, but I also had family in the Bay. My uncle and aunt live in Santa Cruz. My dad lives in Modesto. So I knew that if the business hit the fan, I'm going to edit myself. If the business hit the fan, then I knew that like there's family nearby, that I could like not be alone or scared or lonely on a holiday or whatever.
Yeah.
But I didn't have anyone, living in New York, even on, close to the East Coast. So I was very scared, and I was like, this might not go well. And so I moved in secret. I didn't tell anybody that I was moving, just in case I had to like come back. I didn't want to feel like I failed. But I think, it's important to realize that there really aren't failures in life. They're just opportunities to learn things about yourself.
Yeah.
And I think when I was younger, I put so much pressure on myself to get it right the first time and to prove people wrong and to, exceed people's like imaginary expectations. And, I think life is just about taking chances and taking risks and following your own curiosity and your own passion and not apologizing for that. But yeah, I moved and it was the best thing I could have done for myself. And I live there, although I am currently not there right now. Obviously, I'm in Berkeley and I'm going to be gone for a very long time. So hopefully I'll be back in my apartment very soon. I miss it a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I live there. I pay rent there. But I have not seen my apartment. I have not seen the inside of my apartment since September.
Oh, wow. Couple
Yeah,
months. And
just a
would you
couple.
say that you'll be back soon? But would you say it feels different performing here compared to performing in New York? Like, is the experience different? How is that different for you?
No, I mean, I think it's also, by the time I moved to New York, I had been doing this professionally for a few years. So it didn't feel like a big change. I think, and also too, most of my work in the Bay Area was working on like new plays, because in New York, that's mostly what gets produced, unless, there's like an odd revival on Broadway. They're always like bringing something back. But most of the things that get produced in New York are new works, because New York is where a lot of people go to premiere their plays. But the Bay Area is also a place where people go to premiere their plays. So I think it was really valuable to have that foundation, because I knew how to be an artist at the genesis of a process. And I think if I didn't have that experience, it would have been a difficult, rougher transition. There's a lot of like intellectual rigor that happens, that goes into the creation and the genesis and the premiering of a play. And again, like, I'm so grateful to Rhoda for, the like intense, I didn't even know what dramaturgy was when I took her class. I was just like, why am I working so hard to understand this play? Why do I have to keep reading all these plays? My God.
Yeah.
But it came in handy for sure.
Yeah. Look where you are now. And actually, a little birdie from the theater department might have told me that you may plan on finishing your degree. Is it at Cal State East Bay soon?
Yeah.
And if so, if this is true, what inspired you to go about this decision?
Well, in the earlier, it was inspired by my desire to go to graduate school. Uh, and most graduate acting programs, you need, an undergraduate degree. There are a couple where you don't. Yale and Juilliard, I think, don't require degrees for, to apply for their training programs. And then for a while, my grandmother was like, I need you to graduate so I can die. And I was like, Grandma, don't say that.
Right.
What are you talking about? It's like, I just want to live long enough to see you get your college degree. And I was like, well, if that's the case, I'm never graduating. But that didn't work because she died. So I was like, oh, well, okay. Well, I guess I better do it now. So she passed in January of 2019. But obviously, like, the last couple of years have been a little bit disruptive with this really annoying pandemic we have going on. But yeah, I've been talking, Professor Jones, Daryl Jones, has been my like chief mentor since before I wanted him to be, in my freshman year, when he knew there was an actor inside of, who I thought was going to be a lawyer. And he's been such a generous, like, thoughtful, persistent, guiding voice. And he's been really helpful in helping me, like, make a plan and figure out how I finally get to do that.
Yeah. And I also saw on your website that you kind of have like a passion for teaching theater arts to students.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to say about that, or like who inspired you, stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think there is conventional wisdom from years ago was like, those that can do and those that can't teach. And I think coming to Cal State East Bay and seeing that wasn't true, that like Daryl is a brilliant performer and director, and Mark, Professor Jacobs, is a great director and a great performer. And it was like, oh, you actually don't have to sacrifice your own ambition to light the way for someone else. And I feel like I was, not just at Cal State East Bay, but at so many moments of my career, and even still, like, the beneficiary of so much generosity in terms of like mentorship and guidance. And I felt like it was my duty to pay that forward. And sometimes it's like, it gets complicated and I feel a little overextended when I'm, teaching while I'm acting. But for me, it feels like I am absolutely where I'm supposed to be, where I'm like living in my own art making process. And I also get to illuminate that for somebody else. It's a real joy and an honor and a privilege to be able to like pay forward all of the generosity I received, not just at Cal State East Bay, but certainly at Cal State East Bay.
Yeah. And I'm sure it feels like a win-win situation. Maybe not all the time when you feel overstretched, like you said, but you're kind of gaining something, but you're also paying it forward, like you said. So that's amazing.
And one of my favorite Arthur Ashe quotes, he says, what you get makes a living, but what you give makes a life. And I feel like that's always guided me to make sure that I'm maybe not giving more than I get, because like, you know, balance, and you need to sleep and do your laundry
Right.
and things like that. But making
Mhm.
sure that I'm never getting without giving something back to someone
Yeah,
else.
that's the way to do it, surely. And do you have any words of wisdom for aspiring Cal State East Bay students in general, and even more specifically, who may want to work in the theater arts?
Yeah, you know, I I just feel so grateful
Hmm.
for all of the generosity that has been extended to me over my life and career. And there's so many like great nuggets. Um, okay, here's just a couple.
Okay.
One, your ego is not your amigo.
Okay.
It's not your friend. It's not your friend. Also, compare and despair. Like if you're looking around to see what everybody else is doing and what job somebody else got and what play someone else auditioned for or whatever, like that is a fast track to
Hmm.
disappointment, frustration, disillusionment, and burnout.
Hmm.
Also, fear is not your friend. You know, like we now that the world has evolved in some ways and is very behind in lots of other ways, but we get the opportunity to try things. The world is so much broader and bigger and wider than it was even 2 generations ago. So if you want to try something, do it. Like don't be paralyzed by fear. um, the worst that can happen is that you might be disappointed, but you'll still survive. um so yeah, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. I wish someone told me that when I was younger. Don't be afraid. I
Yeah.
mean, people did. I didn't listen. So listen when people tell you don't be afraid, because there's nothing to be
Mhm.
afraid of.
Yeah. And I'm sure it's the perfect time to hear that too, because it's kind of a, well, hopefully transition period to post-pandemic life, and when people need
Oh,
to,
right.
yeah,
Be afraid of coronavirus. Be very afraid of
exactly.
coronavirus, but don't be
Uh-huh.
afraid of success.
Yeah. No, that's very sound advice. So thank you for that.
You're
And then
welcome.
is there anything else that you want to share, or anything you want to shout out or plug, like an Instagram, website, anything like that?
Oh gosh. Well, first, I would be remiss if I did not shout out my Cal State East Bay pioneer sister, Shalia Latour, who is
Of
currently
course.
back on Broadway. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
pardon me, Tony nominee Shalia
Right.
Latour, who is back
Yeah.
on Broadway in Slave Play. Um, I am so it was an unimaginable dream for both of us to be making our Broadway debuts like a couple of
Hmm.
weeks after each other. Her in
Yeah.
Slave Play and me in The Inheritance. It was it I it when we met, you know, at East Bay 9 or 10 years ago, like I don't think either of us could have imagined that that was possible. And like,
Hmm.
what an amazing moment. My website is just reggiedwhite.com. I'm R to the edgy on R, the number 2,
Hmm.
THAEDGY on Instagram and Twitter. Although I won an award at the Vineyard Theater, the Coleman Domingo Award, and part of that award is I need to write a
Awesome.
play. So I'm on a social media hiatus while I write this
Okay.
damn play. But when I'm back, when I write this play, I will be back on Instagram doing stories and posts and all that nonsense. But yeah, I have to write this play.
Oh, that's a big task, but I'm sure you'll
Yes.
do. Good luck on that. I don't know what
Yes,
else
I'm
to
trying also
say.
to have better procrastination habits than I had when I was in college.
Okay.
So I'm making my way through. I'm not. I've you know, the other thing too about the professional world is like there aren't hard deadlines like there are in college. You just like
Hmm.
miss out on an opportunity. You know, you don't get
Yeah.
a bad grade. You just like miss a grant, or you miss a submission, or you miss a whatever. So I've given myself a deadline of the end of the year to turn the first draft into the literary department at the Vineyard. So I'm close, but I
Awesome.
need 2 more weeks to finish. So I'll be back on Instagram when I finish this play.
For the new year. We'll all
For
follow
the new
you
year.
for the new year.
Exactly.
But I feel like, well, speaking from my experience, I feel like the missing an opportunity is much scarier and lights a fire under your butt for me more than a bad grade. I don't know if it's the same for you.
Absolutely. I
It's
mean,
scary.
yeah, in college, I was sort of like, I was very obsessed with my GPA, which is
Oh,
like
okay.
so silly because, you know, again, that was 15 years ago. And like, I don't remember I remember that B minus because I worked so hard for that B minus, but it's just like, no, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
You thought you were going to law school, so.
I did. Exactly. I thought it was going to mess up my LSAT score and like all
Yeah.
kinds of stuff.
Yeah, of course. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me. And I think that people will just love to hear everything that you have to say. And I know you mentioned Chalia Latour. I wrote a previous article about her. And you said, I wrote in my article that you guys premiered on Broadway within the same week. Is it within the same couple of weeks? Just so I can get that right.
It was certainly the same season. I think Slave Play opened in or started, I don't remember. They certainly opened before us, but I think we were in previews at the same time.
Oh, okay.
Because The Inheritance was like 2 parts. So we started previews for part 1 for like 3 weeks, and then we did previews for part 2. And then we opened like in November when they were about to close. But I think we were in previews at basically the same time.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'll just edit a little bit of that in my article. But as a plug to the audience that's watching this, don't miss your chance to see the wonderful Reggie as the baker in Into the Woods at Berkeley Playhouse. The production will run until Thursday, December 23rd of this year. Get your tickets on tickets.berkeleyplayhouse.org. And thank you all for tuning in. And thank you again to Reggie for sitting down with me. It's been a true pleasure. And we at the Pioneer and Cal State East Bay in general are excited to continue to see your success on and off of stage. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And that's everything I had. So I'll stop the recording and we can do like a sign off.
Great.